there were a lot of kids from George went there, and they were really great. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah. I'm not that one I know. Yeah.
But I didn't see a lot of governor's school students when I was teaching up in Pulaski. They usually have room in their schedules to take a lot of
I don't want to
non-math,
send nothing out
non-science
without
classes.
seeing it prior to the meeting.
That's all.
It's good to see everyone here. I'll call the Carroll County Economic Development Authority to order October 5th, 2021. Ms. Carter will be joining us by phone. Let's stand and have our pledge and invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Slate.
Dear Lord, we thank you for this beautiful day you've given us in Carroll County, Lord, and we thank you for this opportunity to serve you through serving the people of Carroll County tonight. Please guide and direct us in all our words and actions, and may you find them pleasing in your sight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Next item would be citizens' time. I don't see any citizens present, so we'll move on to the minutes of the September 7th meeting. You should have been able to review those on the website. If there's no discussion or questions, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of September 7th.
I so move.
Okay, do I have a second? Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of September 7th. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Motion is carried, minutes are approved. Okay, next item would be a treasurer's report. Ms. West, do you want to give us that?
Okay. Can you hear me okay? Hey, I gotta move this. We're not doing the treasurer's report tonight since we weren't able to get that out early enough for everybody to get a look at it. And I guess we're gonna address that issue later in the meeting. So the only thing I'm gonna give you right now will be the claims that we'd like to have approved for payment. The first item is the Town of Hillsville's bill for the water at the Carter Pond Shelter. The next item is my bill from September. We are about finished up with the audit. Gordon and his crew have gone on to something else temporarily. They do have a few more loose ends that we need to deal with, but we're just about done with it. The next four items are all AEP bills for the various, three of them are from the industrial park and one is from Garner Industrial Park. And Felicia and I have been working on these to coordinate. She's been calling to find out what the service addresses are because we determined that one of these bills, we were questioning why we were getting it because of the service address, and it turns out the service address is wrong. It's actually an industrial park bill, and it was saying that it was this building. So we're working on getting all that coordinated, and once that's all straightened out, you know, both of us will have a proper list of which ones actually do belong to each entity. Next item was some refrigerant that was purchased for the daycare center. The next item is the loan installment for the Carroll County Industrial Park building. The next item is a PSA bill for the Cana Rescue Squad. Next item is our October advance for the CenturyLink bill for the fire alarm at the daycare center. The next item is a bill that was approved for Coal Creek grading that is for the parking lot at Vanguard. This is being deducted from the incentives that are still due to them. That'll show up on your report next month when we go over that. The next item is a bill from the Lyons Mitchell Group for legal services. Next item is the monthly installment for Skyline Bank for the Cana Rescue building, the renovations as well as the takeover of the loan there. And the last three items are the ACHs that we do monthly for the buses, the bond payment for Carroll County High School, and the fire truck loan installment. Any questions?
I have two questions.
Okay.
Have we totally dropped the AEP at Woodlawn?
To my knowledge, yes. If it gets
Okay.
through again, yeah, that is one that I had asked about. There's also a couple of other things to do with Woodlawn that we're trying to get resolved.
Right, I knew it wasn't on here, that's why I was asking. And then the legal services bill, so part of the lease says that Mr. Beamer is supposed to pay the legal services for that. Was that broken down?
I wasn't aware of that.
That's the lease, is that the lease on the Gwen property or on the property?
On the property behind A&G, it says tenants shall be liable for landlord's reasonable attorney fees. Oh, sorry, thank you for clarifying.
If there's a breach of contract, he would be liable to the board, if we have to pursue him for it.
Gotcha.
Any other questions?
Okay, I entertain a motion to approve the payment of invoices.
I so move.
Second?
Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor of approving the invoices, please say aye. All opposed, no. Motion is approved. Payment of the invoices are approved. Move on to old business, the Woodlawn School deed. Mr. Watson, would you want to speak to that, or?
In your packet, you should have received a copy of the agreement between the EDA and Carroll County. Hold on a second. I must have the wrong. Oh, the Woodlawn School deed. What this does is transfers the excess property around Woodlawn School back to Carroll County. And the Carroll County would take the insurance and all the utilities and bills that come along to it. So it would no longer be property included on the EDA insurance. And what that does is it allows us to do recreational sports and those type of things. And plus we'll have the sovereign immunity and the things that go through it as operate as a Carroll County. And I believe both our attorney and the attorney for the county has looked over this. This would have to go in front of the Board of Supervisors to have this transferred over. Any questions?
If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the deed to transfer the excess Woodlawn School property back to the Board of Supervisors.
I make a motion that it be transferred back to the Board of Supervisors.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Motion is carried, and we will execute that at the close of this meeting. And next item would be the EDA property discussion, basically concerning the surplus property. Mr. Watson, you may want to speak to that, and then I'll speak to it as well.
Okay, there's several properties that the EDA owns. The property themselves was brought to you before. We've had some changes over the last, I'm going to say, 10 months, and it's been presented in different ways. One of the things I'd like to do is look at the properties and find out what the best use is before we decide to get rid of all the properties. Now, there's a couple properties that we probably could all agree on as far as getting rid of. We probably do not need the property where the carbide plant was. It's probably a piece of property we need to look at. Also, I think that the property at Cana is another property to look at as far as the building, but there's some work that has to go on all these before we transfer them. That's one deed. We'd have to have it surveyed, a plat created, those type things. One thing I did have the opportunity to do is I reached out to Virginia Economic Development to see if there's any type of grants to do type a planning grant on the property. Now they did offer that their sites evaluator would come out, walk the property, and look at it with us, so that before we make a decision on how we which properties we decide to get rid of, I'd like to look at them a little closer. See how we're going to market them, and then this board needs to determine, hopefully, how we want to get rid of them, whether we want to be an auction or do we want to list them. You know, each property can be done a little different. The EDA does have the opportunity to sell these properties, and that's partially the reason why the property was put into the EDA's name. County government cannot get rid of property. You have to advertise it and go through the whole process to do it, whereas an EDA can actually sell properties for that reason. So I'd like to put it off for another, till the next meeting, and maybe we can discuss it more. Give you an opportunity. I can send out copies or pass out copies of the properties that we do own and look at them, unless there's something that this board would like to direct me to go forward and do something initially now with.
I think the important thing there would be that we will have a third-party opinion as to what properties could be built and what properties cannot. So that recommendation would come with each property. So with your permission, I'd like to table that discussion to our next meeting, and we'll try to have that information so that we can look at property, at each individual properties. We should have a recommendation as this property X would be retained and it has development potential. Property Y, that we don't see a development potential, and we would recommend, or they would recommend, it be disposed of. So without objection, we'll table that to our next meeting and hopefully have you some information at that point. Okay. There's no other old business. We'll move on to new business.
I have a question.
Okay.
Sorry, about the lease again. I don't recall us making a motion to have the lease signed. I know that we talked about it, and I know that we talked about putting it off until we had legal counsel, but we didn't review it before it was signed. Shouldn't we have done that? I wasn't at the August meeting. I was on there by phone, but there's not any minutes posted for me to go back and look. So I wasn't sure.
Well, there's two ways you could look at it. Number one, the board voted to lease it to him for $200, so the contract was made at that point. So signing of the contract would be a kind of a moot point from my standpoint. I'll defer to legal counsel for that. But once the vote was affirmative to lease it for $200, it was just a matter of, we didn't have legal counsel to draw a contract, so we were waiting until we had Mr. Lyons to draw that.
It just, like the Woodlawn deed one we just voted on. It seems as if we've had that option in the past. And also, it's just your signature and his. The other ones that we have someone from the county also on there. Is that yours, Larry?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I thought it was Nathan.
That's my, yeah.
You know, I don't know why you would have someone from the county strictly EDA problem.
I meant a county representative, EDA, Economic Development Authority Director, Chairman, someone like that has been listed on past lease agreements. Right. And I couldn't tell the difference between Edwards and Lyons. But I was curious as to why there wasn't a motion or a vote beforehand.
Yeah, Moyer signed the lease and I signed the lease. on behalf
Yeah,
of-
now I understand that now. So do we not need a motion to do that?
Yeah, I wasn't privy
Right,
to things before, I was only asked to draw it up,
right.
turn it over to the chairman. Yes, you all had discussed that, but not being present at a meeting where I wasn't, I don't know what you all discussed about it. The terms were given to me, and I reviewed those with the chairman, prepare it for doing this.
Okay. I guess so we're good with no motion on the table to approve a lease, is my thing.
Well, the
Because, I mean, it's just been verbal agreement.
motion was to lease the property for him for $200, and it passed the board.
Right.
So, under the understanding that we would execute a lease, and that was done and signed.
Okay,
So, I think that's where we stand.
okay.
New business, the water and sewer grant agreement. Mr. Watson, that should have been in your packet. That was on the website, but you may want to speak to that a little bit more.
One of the things that we've been talking about is finding a way to increase the availability for water and sewer to customers. This was brought up when the county received ARPA funds, this American Recovery Act funds. So one of the opportunities to do is provide reliable water and sewer service for residents of Carroll County. So in order to do that, the Board of Supervisors has not approved yet, but they will move forward hopefully at the next meeting and agree to allot a certain amount of money over time. The original amount would be, that I'll be requesting at the meeting is $100,000. And what that will do is give staff the ability to reimburse the EDA for grants. And the general principle behind it is the EDA will work with the PSA to make sure that it can be serviced. You know, you can't service something 30 miles out the road and expect to pay for it for $100,000, but it gives you the opportunity to pick up additional customers along the way. The cost for a sewer is $3,000 a home. Also, a water connection is $3,000 a home. So if a person was not on water and sewer, they could get a connection for water and sewer. It cost them $3,000. Okay, those rates are set by the PSA. This would not bypass the rate structure of the PSA. What this would do is allow funding to go to individuals to receive this service. So what would happen is they send in an application, a request, and those we'll receive somebody who will come in and ask about it. We'll try to advertise it some. Person will come in, they'll fill out an application, we'll turn it over to the EDA. The EDA will work with the PSA to make sure they be served. If it's all approved, then the amount of grant will be written on it. It'll be approved by the EDA, and then we will invoice. I got to remember I'm sitting on both sides sometimes, so we'll invoice according to this agreement once a month. So at the end of the month, and then at the next meeting it comes up, we'll be able to pay that invoice. So, and what this agreement does is allows it to put it on paper and how we're going to do it. So we're hoping that we can get several other customers. There might be, I'm not going to say you're going to be able to extend lines a long distance, but you might be able to pick up that house right at the end or these type of things, or there will have to be some negotiations with some of them because you might have a person that has a home and it's 100 feet up the road. We might put $3,000 connection, and that will make them be able to afford the other small extension. They might have $1,500 to run a 2-inch or a line up the road a little piece, and then we could cover $3,000. So it's a lot easier for an individual to bite off $1,500 than it is to bite off $4,500 to get water and then pay a monthly service fee. Some of the requirements, and I can send you an application. We've been working on some for it to be approved, but hopefully this will give an opportunity to put more customers, a better customer base, and as you get more customers, you're able to expand the PSA. But this is strictly a grant through a grant process, and the agreement lays it out between Carroll County and the EDA. So
It's a great idea.
Any questions?
Mr. Watson, are there any stipulations to the prospective customer who would receive these as to keeping the service?
Well, if a person gets this service, they would have to, one of the stipulations, they have to receive service. So in other words, you can't get a tap and put onto the service without paying a monthly fee as you go along.
Right.
Okay, but once it gets in, chances are if it's a home that they're building or it's already there, then the next person is going to want to connect on to a $35 a month bill
Sure.
instead of paying to get a $10,000 well done. So that's the concept behind it, hopefully. And it also, if you can move along a little farther, then hopefully we can extend service to the other area. And there might be something that comes up that's outside of this that we can work on as strives to extend service through. To partner with to get it out there.
I think it's a great idea, and anything we can do to help citizens is outstanding.
Yeah, it's to get water and sewer service, it's a little expensive.
This
It
is
needs to
just
be looked at later on down the
we're
road.
talking about, though, if we cross the business and that path going to that person, they would still be liable for full amount, I'm assuming.
Yes, the individual, this does not discount the cost. What this does is give them the opportunity for a grant to pay for it. So we can't pick who, you're not really in a utility. You're supposed to pick what you charge to each person. That's the reason why the board votes on a tap fee and they based on rates. So I can't say, it's just like here. If we're doing like something in the enterprise zone and there's a water sewer connection or a building permit, you can't just as a municipality or as a utility just waive those fees. Really shouldn't. What it should be done is reimbursed as an incentive, and it's just a paper trail. So what happens is it's like the last building permit that the fees were done. The fees were paid, and then we as a county, I keep saying we, as a county reimburse the EDA for those fees. So I mean, it's just a way, paper trail to dot your I's, cross your T's. So that's similar to what this grant's going to do.
Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agreement between the EDA and the PSA.
I so move.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second.
Okay, have 2 seconds. Thanks, Kay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And the agreement is approved. And the next item of new business is a discussion about our meeting date. I guess a classic example of we want to move to electronic posting of the documents. And of course, the end of the month was on last Thursday. And Friday was the first day of the month, so it's almost impossible for Ms. West to get those documents done in time to complete them. So I think it would be good if we could move our meeting date to the second Tuesday of the month. That would allow Ms. West to complete her work, I believe. Pardon? Sure, yeah. Yeah, if you will.
I just wanted to make you all aware, because one of the things that happens a lot, because this is coming through the mail and then through the county and then to me, and besides that, we do reconcile the bank statement before we present the financials to ensure that nothing got overlooked, that there's nothing missing, nothing, checks that didn't, whatever. And as I was explaining to the executive director when we were starting, just last fiscal year 21, 8 of the 12 months, we had our meeting on the first, second, or third of the month. And the banks don't even produce bank statements until after the last day of the month. And if that falls on a weekend, they won't even do it till Monday. And of course, then there's the processing time. I also received this morning, I received a bill I wasn't able to give you that'll go into next month's, but it's, in this case, it's Carroll County who will be delayed being paid. But it's a service invoice that will end up being only produced at the end of a month. So until their month is closed and they have all their documents in, they can't produce that. I think the extra week, if we went to the second Tuesday, the extra week would, with rare exceptions, would at least mean we can process everything that we have. It doesn't mean we will always get everything on time, but it does mean we can process everything that we have. So I feel like, and this is what I was making a commitment to, that if we do that, we should be able to get the documents out electronically by the Friday before our meeting, possibly even the Thursday, and then y'all have the leisure of the weekend to review everything, since everybody works on the weekend, or even Monday, since we don't meet till Tuesday. So that was one of the reasons that Larry and I had talked about, and I would like to request that we would make that change. May I say something else about something you were talking about? I would do this in citizens' time, but citizens is already over. The thing about the grants with the water and sewer, which is a great idea, I just wanted to ask if there is any reason, or any reason not to, actually.
I did not know that.
I was aware of a situation that came up when we did this before with the when the first infrastructure went through into Woodlawn and so forth. And it was brought to my attention that a lot of the work was being done by non-licensed individuals. And when I say that, I mean like plumbing individuals that have licenses to do that type of work. And I guess that's up to the homeowner, you know, between them and whether they're comfortable with that. But I wonder, in the situation where we're going to offer grants to pay for that service, should there be some kind of a stipulation on that in the event that that work is not done properly, and in some cases had to be redone by a licensed plumber, and then it ends up being another cost to the homeowner? Just a thought.
Chairman, may I speak just a second? The installation of the tap is only to the meter. Okay, one of the things that we're looking at changing is right now we supply PRV, which that's a whole different subject, but it's a pressure reducing valve. What this grant would do is would only provide what the PSA service is. This would not go from the meter to the house. The person would still have to connect that. And all these connections, what I'm moving toward in the PSA is not allow anybody to touch PSA assets. So right now, we put a PRV inside the box with the tap, okay? We are going to do away with putting PRVs in, because what happens is PRVs fail every so many years. We buy a commercial PRV, and this is speculative. This hasn't been approved through our board, but the goal is everything from the box to the supply, the PSA will operate, maintain. Everything from the meter on is customer's responsibility, okay? And the reason why I say that is every home's different, you know? There's an option of putting the PRV at the road, but if it's new service, they're going to run new lines, so PRV in a house or in the road, it's not really going to matter. Also, the only other, we have an agreement with a local contractor to install when we can't get to it. So we have a licensed contractor, will either be doing the work or the PSA will doing the work. The only difference is the PSA will send an invoice to the EDA. The EDA will pay PSA and the county will pay the EDA. So as far as having a licensed contractor, there should never be a problem with that. If we're hiring somebody that is not qualified to do the work, then it should be the PSA's problem. All we're doing is providing funding.
Shouldn't all those connections be inspected by a building inspector anyway?
Well, the building inspector would not do the utility work, okay? If a person is installing a water line from the meter to the house, yes.
Gotcha.
The building official would inspect those things. They would have to get a building permit. There's some things that are required by code, you know, and I don't know all of them. There should be a backflow on it, some type of flap, or depending on the amount of pressure. Not all homes need a PRV. Also, one of the questions the EDA will be is, do they have significant pressure to have water? You know, building code, I think, is one of, it's either one of the other. Virginia Department of Health requires one, or building requires one. One's 40 and one's 20. You know, truthfully, if you don't have 40 pounds of pressure in your home, you're probably operating below pressure. But if you have 150 PSI, you really need to crank it down, or every faucet in your house is going to drip. But there was one other thing, if there's no other questions with that. I was just told that the school board, in which I apologize for not knowing this, but the school board meets in this room on 5:30 on Tuesdays. Is there another day that might work for the board, if we want to continue to use this location? I mean, we can even do it on the third week. It's whatever this board would like to do, as whichever day it needs to be.
I'm really flexible, so
Carroll, there might be another day. I don't know. But the second Monday is the Board of Supervisors meeting, correct? So the second Monday's out. I mean, be at the pleasure of the board. I'm assuming we want to try to go to electronic documents. And there's just no way we could, take for instance this meeting. If you post everything on the website at least 3 days before the meeting, then there's no way that we would have the financial documents in order to do that, because they would have to be posted on Thursday, which is the last day of the month. So that's kind of where we're working from. So, you know, I guess each board or each members over time will have to make their own decisions. I'm flexible.
So why don't we just bump it to the third week, the third Tuesday? Otherwise, we're going to run into the long weekend. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to meet on a Monday. I think the third Tuesday, that would be my preference. Anybody else?
Well, let's have a motion and go from there, and we'll have discussion afterwards if we need to. Do I have a motion that we move the meetings to the third Tuesday of the month? Excuse me.
I make a motion that we move our meetings to the third Tuesday of the month at 5 o'clock.
Yes. Okay. Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of moving the meetings to the third Tuesday at 5 o'clock, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. We'll move the meetings to that date.
And I'll update the website.
Right, yeah. We'll have enough time to do it by the next meeting.
So do I need to reword my motion?
Yeah. Let's have a follow-up motion to determine when you want to put that into place. Do you want to move it? Do you want that to go into effect for the November meeting? Yeah, I mean, there's time. I mean, we only have to post things 3 days in advance.
Oh, yeah,
So,
it is October.
yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
I'm good either way.
I'll entertain a motion to.
Y'all wanted me to get in October?
No.
I'm available.
Just kidding. So November? Okay. Okay.
I'll entertain a motion to make that go into effect in November meeting.
I make a motion that our new meeting date and time go into effect November 2021.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, have a motion to second for that to take effect in the November meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion is carried, and we will meet the third Tuesday at 5 o'clock of November. Is that going to cause any difficulty with any payments?
I don't think so, because the ones that typically that are behind are the utilities, because doing one in advance anyway, the only possibility I'll need to look at it, we stay 1 month ahead on the installment on the skyline. I'll have to look and see if we need to go ahead and do another one, and if so, we can do something, if people agree, we can do something into it, and then I'll just present. But I think we are.
Okay. That's one reason also, if we missed, under the old system, if we missed a payment because of meeting the first of the month, then we were going about 45 days and we could be delinquent on a payment. So we should be current on nearly all of our payments once we get into this process. Okay, any other new business? If not, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session under A5 and A8.
Motion to go into closed session.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of going into closed session under A5 and A8, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. We'll go into closed session. Okay, I'll entertain a motion that we come out of closed session.
I make a motion we come out of closed session.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Have a motion and a second that we come out of closed session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Whereas the Carroll County Economic Development convened a closed session this date, October 5th, 2021, pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote on the motion to close the meeting in accordance with the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. Whereas Section 2.23711D Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Board of EDA that such closed session was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Carroll County EDA hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempt from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act was heard, discussed, or considered in closed session to which this certification applies. And only such business matters as were identified in the motion by which this closed session was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting to which this certification applies. And if you each would individually certify. Mr. Slate.
I certify.
Mr. certify. Ms. McCraw.
I certify.
Mr. Fox.
I certify.
I
Mr.
certify.
And I certify. I think the last item would be members' time. If any member has anything they'd like to bring forward.
I would just like to thank Mr. Watson or whoever was involved with getting the information out to us so we could review it. I found it very helpful, and I appreciate the effort.
Duly noted, and hopefully we'll move more toward that. And there's no other comments. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Meeting is adjourned.